What would make you feel more connected to your favorite band? Would you rather read a review that a journalist wrote about the concert and maybe see a picture or two attached? Or would you rather attend the concert, front row center, experience it firsthand, and then maybe talk to the band afterwards backstage? If you're like me, or most learners who are visual and have multiple intelligences, you would rather experience something firsthand. That would help you connect to the material. If you were really there or felt like you were, you could better understand what you were learning. You'd want to explore, observe, be engaged. You want to feel like you're out of your seat, you're in the actual scene of whatever you are learning. You want to be able to see it from different angles. Let me take a wild guess. If you had to choose between a field trip and reading a textbook, you would probably pick the field trip, right? Those were the days that we knew everyone would probably be in class, because who's going to want to miss the field trip? We knew that even though we were going to be learning, we were going to be having fun. We're going to be able to explore, observe, look at different things that we probably wouldn't find in our textbooks. We will be able to ask questions and really learn with our peers. Many of us probably remember field trips back in the day. We probably went on many, or felt like we went on many. If you were attending maybe a private school or a public school with a high budget, chances were that you probably had more field trips than others. That was then. This is now. Today, there's been a problem with the lack of field trips available. Students aren't really getting that experience as we used to. So, what's the problem?
Most school districts don't have the funds or budget to make sure every student gets to go frequently. Many of these trips are just to local attractions, and you're not really learning stuff that you're covering in the classroom. Many teachers are frustrated that field trips are disappearing. It's hard to fundraise or even get the school to give some money. Some of them have to even pay out of pocket. Is it okay for students to only do a science experiment in the class a few times a year? Of course not. So why should we expect it to be okay for students to just go on field trips a few times a year? Well, the main reasons that contribute to the decline and disappearance of field trips is cost, safety, and all the issues such as transportation, unpredictability of students, you don't know how they're going to act, difficulty finding chaperones. It's hard to plan, prepare, and execute a field trip. So do we give up? Of course not. We live in a technological world, and we have a simple solution that costs close to nothing. But you can take the class practically anywhere, any place, country, time zone, time period, you name it. Today, I'm going to be talking about the virtual field trip. My goal is to educate you on everything about it so you know that they're practical, important, necessary to implement in the classroom so that your students are engaged and really connecting to the material. So first, what is a virtual field trip? A virtual field trip is when you get to transport your whole class to amazing destinations, far, far away locations, different time periods, environments, etc., to expose them to so much more than what their textbooks have to offer. You can give them new resources, information, and experiences by going on a virtual field trip. For the school district, it's a way to save money. For parents, it's a way to help their kids learn. For students, it's a way to include fun with learning. And for teachers, it's a practical, important, and necessary technological teaching practice to implement often in the classroom so that students are engaged, focused, and interested in continuing to learn. I'm not going to lie, it's also a way to be one of the coolest teachers on campus. What kind of virtual field trips are there? They can be as simple or complex as you want them to be. There are so many that are free, and also there's a lot of free resources online that walk you through step by step. It can be pre-designed by various companies such as Google, Scholastic, the New York Times, Discovery Channel, the list goes on. Or they can actually be created by a teacher. Any subject works with virtual field trips. You don't have to be that tech savvy. And you're not being passive when you're on a virtual field trip. It's not just pictures or short video clips that you watch. Many virtual field trips allow for different kind of experiences. There are many different formats that you can access a virtual field trip. There are virtual tours where you feel like you're in the location because you can go click room to room and see what it exactly looks like to be at that location. There's video conferencing where you could use Skype or any other program where you're able to chat with someone online and see how it looks. There's websites and you can click different things to go to different pictures and different videos, different parts of the website. There's webcasts and live streams so you can see in real time what's occurring. Panoramic views, which are high def images of the location. There's interactive sites, e-missions. E-missions are where students have to do something after they're watching it. There's like a goal or something they have to figure out. Slideshows, there's video virtual field trips, video field trips that use web cameras. There's animation, apps for virtual field trips, presentation software and CDs. And lastly, there's virtual reality with special gadgets, such as with Google Expedition, where they have special technology goggles. You can buy the kits to make these goggles, or you can do them yourself. And it gives the students a really cool, almost a 3D image and a very high definition look at where they're at. And when they move around, they get to see different parts of the location. So what are the benefits and why should you implement this in your classroom today? Well, as we mentioned, cost is an obvious one. Location, doesn't matter where you're at, you can go anywhere. Safety, you don't have to worry about losing a student. Limitless choices and trips, you can go anywhere as often as you want. And attendance, if a student misses a day when you're supposed to go on a field trip, they can watch it the next day, so they can still attend. Some of the other major ones are: 1, here's 10 of them. Active learning. 2, immersive experience. This avoids distraction. Active learning and immersive experiences mean that students are not just passively watching something, but they're interacting with it, they're engaged, and they're watching something because they're interested in it. Number 3, engaging the 21st century learner. Today's student, they grew up with technology, they're comfortable learning with it, they want to have technology in their education. Number 4, motivation and new interests. So the more things you expose them to, the more likely they're going to be motivated to learn about new things because they find things that they can relate to. 5, unique grouping formats. So you can have a whole class field trip, virtual field trip, a small group virtual field trip, even an independent virtual field trip. So it works for your class and your students. So, and that also ties with number 6, customizable. Virtual field trips allow you to add or delete different things. You can find trips that really connect to what you're teaching. 7, accessibility to all. Like we said, that has to do with location. No matter where the student lives or what district they're in, they're able to visit places that other school districts with maybe better budgets can attend. 8, support visual, auditory, kinesthetic learners. 9, support ELL and IEP students. Sometimes students don't understand new concepts, maybe because of the language barrier, and if they're able to connect what they see with what they hear or learn, it's better for their understanding. And lastly, 10, this works with any and all subjects, so no teacher or subject is left behind. Now let's talk about the different subjects we can take with a virtual field trip, or we can cover. The best ones are all of them. For science, you can take a virtual field trip in a cell, like the cell in our body, or a volcano, maybe the space station. While students at Durham Public Schools, they have visited all of these in the last few years. In history, a virtual field trip can be taken to the first Thanksgiving, or the Anne Frank Museum in Amsterdam, or any other museum that is out of reach. Foreign languages, if you teach a foreign language, you can take a virtual field trip to a country that the language originated in. With Air Panel, students are able to feel like they're riding in a helicopter and see a panoramic view of all parts of the world. For a Spanish class, you can see a mariachi flash mob in Mexico, or take a trip to the Tomatina Festival in Spain, or even see how the Day of the Dead is celebrated in various countries. How about math? Where can you take a field trip with that? You can celebrate Pi Day with Discovery Education, where you will tour inside the National Institute of Standards and Technology and meet the mathematicians and scientists who are figuring out how to solve problems of the future. Or why not take the students to Wall Street and experience the New York Stock Exchange. With NYSE Euronext, you can see what it looks like on the trading floor with a behind-the-scenes tour of the world's largest marketplace. Scholastic also has many virtual field trips for math for younger students. And for physical education, why not take your students to the Olympics? See, there's a field trip for every and any subject. It isn't difficult to find something that relates to what you're teaching. With virtual field trips, you can find unique and specific places to visit that adds, enhances, clarifies, and connects your students to what they're learning in class. There's also some other ways you can use virtual field trips. With a substitute teacher, in case there's a last minute you need to call one of them and you don't really have stuff prepared, if you have a virtual field trip, the students can go on them with the substitute, and that way you're making sure they're still continuing with the content that you're reviewing. Homework assignments. You can assign a virtual field trip for students to watch on their own at home, and they can write maybe 5 or so questions about the video to ask their classmates on the following day. You can also use them as review assignments after you have taught certain lessons. You can show them the virtual field trip and they can write about the content on the virtual field trip that they recall from your lessons. You can also check for their understanding. You can develop and assess their skills and comprehension by asking them questions after the virtual field trip. And you can use them as writing prompts. Maybe after they attend a virtual field trip, you can come up with a question about the field trip, or maybe a reflection opportunity. And lastly, incentives. Since most students are going to enjoy these virtual field trips and want to go on them often, you can always use them as incentives. So when students work hard or behave in the classroom, you guys can get ready for a trip. In conclusion, virtual field trips, they're an emerging educational technology trend for the main reason being that there's budget cuts out there that is getting rid of regular field trips. They're so convenient to use, and it's an engaging and technological effective way to meet the needs of various learners. Virtual field trips they're not meant to replace traditional field trips, but they are rather tools that teachers should use and implement to supplement what they're already teaching so that students can really get engaged and they can be supported in their learning. There are many free virtual field trips out there they can easily access just from a quick click away. There is minimal tech savviness necessary for this, and teachers everywhere are discovering how greatly virtual field trips are enhancing their teaching and unit plans. I hope you are now more aware and intrigued by virtual field trips. I hope you know the problem that has paved the way for virtual field trips to become popular, are aware of the different types and formats, see the various and impacting benefits, and understand why you need to implement them in your classroom today. They are the next best thing to an actual field trip for everyone. Administration, teachers, but mostly importantly, they help the young minds that we are molding today. Thank you.